The story starts with the boy Kazuya. He is on his way to the grocery store. Suddenly a lot of people ran out of the grocery store in panic. He is bumped into someone and his phone falls to the ground. A man appeared with a knife in his hand, and two little girls couldn't move, because they were scared. Kazuya noticed that the two little girls didn't manage to escape in time. The man rushed towards the girls, and Kazuya couldn't stop himself. Followed, he rushed towards the man with a knife on his hand. Kazuya was stabbed and bled to death trying to save the girls. The criminal ran away and the two girls cried. Kazuya couldn't believe that he was going to die now. Then Kazuya woke up in the body of Kane, thinking that he was in the hospital. When he woke up, he was greeted by his maid Sylvia and his mother Sarah, who were strangers to him. Kane was very confused, and when he saw in the mirror that he was in another body, he panicked. Kane was confused about his new body, and his mother was happy that he is awake, because Kane had fever and was sleeping since 1 week. Then his mother wanted to bring him food, and Kane didn't know the two women. Kane looked at himself in the mirror again, and he realized that he had been reborn into another world. Also, he remembered his death. He couldn't believe he died, but he was glad he could save the two girls. Kane was excited about his new life and wondered if he was a boy or a girl. When he wanted to find out which gender he is, maid Sylvia showed up. She thought Kane had wet his pants and wanted to help him change into new pants. So Kane was embarrassed that his pants were pulled down, and then Kane was fed by Sylvia. He liked the food in the new world. When Kane was done, he was treated like a baby, because no one knew that he is a high schooler spiritually. Kane was able to learn a lot about his new family, because he was born into a noble family as the 3-year-old Kane Silford, and he was the son of Garm and Sarah. He also had a sister Renee, who was 2 years older than him. In addition, his father has a second wife named Maria, and 2 older half-brothers named Jin and Alec. Also, Kane's father is a noble Margrave who has his own army, and in his life now there are monsters and magic in the world. In the days that followed, he learned more about the world by Sylvia, and he was happy to be reborn into a fantasy world. He told Sylvia that he also wants to be an adventurer. Kane didn't miss his old life since he was an orphan and had no family. Then you see Kane with his family. He wanted to learn to read, and his family was impressed that he could solve math problems at the age of 3. His mother, Sarah, thought that Kane was a genius, and he claimed that he had learned everything from maid Sylvia. She was happy about his praise, and his father wondered why he suddenly wanted to learn to read. Then they noticed that Kane had changed since his fever, and he didn't know how to answer. Kane said he wanted to learn to read because he wanted to learn a lot about the world, and his family was happy. Also, Kane wanted to borrow books from his father to learn magic. Then Kane found out that he was too young and hadn't been baptized either. His parents told him that he would not be able to use magic until he was baptized, and that he should only read the books for now. In the days that followed, Kane taught himself magic. He was so happy and lost control when using strong fire magic. Suddenly his big sister appeared, and he thought she saw him using magic. But she only thought he was secretly learning about the outside world, so he was glad that she hadn't seen anything. In the years that followed, Kane learned a lot about the world, because his sister teaching him a lot about the world. Kane found out about a fluffy monster that he could also summon, and couldn't wait to get his baptism to get magic power. So 2 years passed, and Kane was 5 years old, and he got ready for his baptism. Renee couldn't believe how cute her little brother looked in his new clothes, and they set off to the church. When they were in the carriage, Rain asked her sister what status magic was. His big sister showed him by opening a status window. Kane could see his sister's abilities and magic power. He discovered that his sister's title was Adorer of Kane, which was embarrassing for Renee. Kane said he hadn't seen anything. After that, he learned that he would receive blessings, and the blessings of gods are classified into levels 1 to level 5. Arriving at the church, Rain's baptism began, and Renee hoped that her little brother would receive many blessings. Suddenly, at the baptism of Kane, a statue was shining and he was summoned to the gods. Kane couldn't believe that he met real gods by his baptism, and the creator god Xenom was happy to meet him. Kane couldn't believe Xenom was a god because he looked more like a cosplayer. Xenom said that as a god he can read minds, and he heard everything what he thought. Afterwards, the goddess Ryam explained that she is responsible for life and death. She told him that his death wasn't planned at all. This is how Kane learned that he had died unnecessarily, because it was planned that the criminal would stumble by attacking them, and the other people would have stopped him. When Kane heard the truth, he was embarrassed because he gave his life in vain. Also, the culprit was arrested as a murderer by Kane, and Kane couldn't believe how pathetic he is. Then the goddess said that because of his good deed, he got a second life and reincarnated in another world. Cain found out that they sealed his old memories, but somehow his seal was broken when he was 3 years old. Cain was not upset, and thanked them for being able to keep his memories of his previous life, and for being born into a loving family now. The magic goddess Reno fell in love with Cain, and gifted him her blessing. Zeman also wanted to give his blessing to Cain, and suddenly the god of war Sarnos presented himself. He also wanted to give Cain his blessing, that he got much more power. After that, the other gods also wanted to give their blessings to Cain. So Cain received blessings from all the gods and had overpowered skills like item box or identification. After that, Cain was sent back, and the creator god smiled at him, and told him to check his status on his return. When Cain's baptism was over, his father Garm wanted to see his stats. Cain ran out and said that his stomach hurt, and he secretly checked his stats. Cain received blessings from all gods, and all blessings were at level 10. Cain understood why. Xenom smiled at him, and Cain discovered a message from the creator god. He told him that Cain was able to disguise the status values of the gods with a creator skill. When Rain got home, he celebrated his baptism with his family, and Cain opened his status window. His father Garm couldn't believe about Kai's high stats, because Cain forgot to disguise all stats. His family thought Cain was a genius, and his father was impressed, but he was also aware of the dangers. So he told Cain and everyone else in the room not to tell anyone about Cain's stats. After that, Cain went to his room and found a book about summoning magic on his bed. Cain wanted to summon a fluffy monster, and he went outside to summon a fluffy monster that he can hug. Cain unintentionally summoned a dangerous monster. Suddenly, his sister and one of her friends also showed up. The summoned monster wanted to kill them, and Cain wanted to protect his sister and her friend. Cain attacked the monster with a fire attack, but he was overwhelmed by the strong monster. At that moment he remembered his old life and didn't want to lose again, so he teleported the monster away with a spell. Cain was able to defeat the dangerous monster and fell on the ground. The two girls cried, and Cain thought he was dying again. Suddenly Cain realized that he wasn't hurt at all, and his sister was happy that he was healthy. Cain was also happy because he realized that he could save people in his new life. The next day, Cain did a speech to the friends of his family, and his father wanted to hear what Cain wanted to do in his future. Cain said that he wants to be an adventurer who helps many people and has many great adventures. Also, he wanted to discover the world and wanted to make a lot of friends. Cain decided to become a great adventurer, and his father supported Cain's dream of becoming an adventurer. Garm said to his son that he would hire a private tutor that teach him more about an adventurer life, so Cain looked forward to learn more about this world. The next day, Cain was in his room, and he imagined how his new tutor would look like. Suddenly, Cain found out that his tutors had arrived, and he teleported himself to the roof of their estate with a magic spell. Cain fell down and landed on his new teacher Millie's breasts. Millie then thought that he wanted to be breastfed. As a result, Cain apologized for his behavior, and his butler told Cain that they are his new home teachers. Cain introduced himself to both of them, and he was happy about his new tutors. We then see Millie, who is very nervous and introduces herself to Cain's family. Nina also introduced herself, and Cain remarked that Nina is an elf. That's how Cain got to know his new tutors, and Millie was relieved that they didn't have to speak so polite in their presence. The two adventurers were delighted to be Cain's tutors, and took him outside to practice swordsmanship. Millie wanted to see Cain's skills, so he showed them his powerful sword skills. The two tutors were impressed, and Nina said that Cain is most likely stronger than Millie. Nina's words hurt Millie's pride, and she wanted to have a practice match with Cain. During the practice fight, the two couldn't believe that Cain was only 5 years old, because he was way too strong. Cain told the two more about himself, and Millie was overwhelmed by Cain. So Nina wanted to teach Cain magic, and Cain said he already knows the basics. He then showed Nina his magic power, and he could use all elements. Nina couldn't believe that Cain was a beginner, since he cast magic spells that only high-level magicians could use. Nina thought Cain was a genius, and the two girls learned that Cain received 2 different blessings by the gods. Millie immediately realized that Cain is already stronger than the two adventurer, and they can't teach him anything new. Then Cain used his item box, and the two couldn't believe that he also had the skill item box. Followed his tutors told him that he is on a pro level. So Cain asked if the two could teach him anything outside of his estate. The reason was Cain didn't know the world outside and haven't much experience. The two tutors agreed with Cain's idea, so they reported to Cain's father that his son was far too strong and that he would destroy everything if he continued training. Sarah was proud of her son Cain, and his father expected it before, that Cain is too overpowered. Garm allowed Cain to go outside, but he said that Cain should be back at evening. Then Cain made his way outside looking forward to his training session with Millie and Nina. Once outside, Cain should try using advanced magic to attack a giant rock. Cain cast a strong fire spell and he caused a huge explosion. Nina couldn't believe that Cain could cast such a powerful attack. Then Millie was worried that Cain is exhausted, and they learned that Cain also had inexhaustible magical power. Cain laughed, and the two girls sensed a monster. Suddenly a killer rabbit appeared, and they tried to attack him, but the killer rabbit aimed to attack Cain. As a result, Cain easily defeated his first monster. Millie congratulated Cain, and Cain wanted to show his first defeated monster to his family. He summoned his item box, and Millie told him that she wants to save up some money to buy someday a magic bag. So Cain learned that magic bags work just like his skill item box, but unfortunately they are very expensive. Then they wanted to hunt more monsters, and Nina used a search radar skill that tracked down all enemies in the area. Cain wanted to learn the skill too, and Cain then copied his skill easily. Nina couldn't believe that Cain was able to learn it by using it once. Followed Cain immediately ran to hunt monsters. The two support him, and also defeated 2 killer rabbits. Suddenly a killer rabbit tried to run away, and Cain wanted to follow the monster into the forest. Millie stopped him because there are dangerous monsters in the forest. Cain learned that sometimes large herds of monsters appears and try to attack their town. Then Millie said that one day, when he's older, he will be strong enough to protect their town too. So Cain looked forward to exploring the dangerous forest one day. When Cain was home, he realized that defeating a few weak monsters leveled him up to level 8. He couldn't believe all the gods gifted him with cheat skills. He decided to hide his stats, because he would be considered as a danger, and as punishment, he would face the death penalty. In the days that followed, Cain was in town, and Millie wanted to gather information by the guild. Cain was happy to see a guild house. Then in the guild house, Millie asked her friend Rudy if they had any information about powerful monsters that would be better suited for training Cain. Rudy asked how old Cain is, but she panicked as she learned that Cain is a noble. Cain introduced himself, and Rudy remarked that Cain is a nice little boy. Then an arrogant C-rank adventurer showed up. He made fun of Millie and Nina for being D-rank adventurers. Cross then invited the 2 girls to have a beer with him, and the 2 girls declined. Cross didn't want to accept their rejection, and tried to force the 2 to drink a beer with him. Cain stopped the bad guy Cross, and said that the 2 didn't have time. Followed Cain introduced himself as the proud student of Nina and Millie. Millie and Nina told Cain to run, but Cain knocked Cross to the ground. When Cross tried to attack him, Cain taught him a lesson and beat him up, so Cross got angry. He then drew a sword and attempted to kill Cain. So Cain dodged with his agility all of Cross's attacks with ease. The adventurer Cross didn't stand a chance, and Cain stopped his sword attack with just one hand. As a result, he threw Cross out of the guild. Also, he threatened to take down his henchmen as well. So Cain managed to save his beloved tutors Nina and Millie without any problems. The 2 thanked Cain and they went to hunt the monsters. This is how Cain learned to use his powerful magic and experienced many happy days with his 2 tutors. After training, they always ate delicious sandwiches together and enjoyed every moment. 3 years later, Sylvia showed up in Cain's room. She told Cain that the 2 adventurers rejected the extension contract as his tutor. Sylvia asked him if she should try to persuade them to continue being his tutor. Cain replied that it was not necessary, and that he would like to thank both of them. He wanted to get them a gift, because he had a great time with Millie and Nina. Then Cain remembered Millie's request for a magic bag. Cain decided to produce a magic bag for them by himself, and in the evening he teleported to the dangerous forest. First, Cain hunted down a huge blood ogre, and he used powerful fire spells to defeat him. After that, Cain also defeated an earth dragon, and the knights in the city thought that Cain's attacks were caused by strong monsters. Garm and his knights immediately set out to destroy the herd of monsters. In the meantime, Cain teleported himself home. The knights discovered a huge crater, and his father found a towel from Cain. He couldn't believe his son was causing the problem. The next day, Cain hunted wolves, and he easily defeated a whole pack of the monsters. Then the 2 wanted to say goodbye to Cain. Cain showed him his self-made magic bags, which he wanted to give to his 2 tutors. She couldn't believe Cain defeated a blood ogre and an earth dragon to get the material. Then Cain said that only one property fits in his magic bag. Millie said that his magic bags were the rarest class and weren't normal gifts. Cain thanked them for the good time, and was kissed on the cheek by the 2 beautiful girls. They also thanked Cain for the good time, and they offered him that if Cain was in trouble, he could always call them for help. Later on, Cain was scolded by his father for causing troubles. He told him that he should be more careful in the future, and Cain apologized for causing his father so many troubles. The following day, Cain fought against a dragon. He defeated the dragon with just a single attack. Then Cain checked his stats. He realized that he is overpowered, and he got the title Dragon Slayer. Then 2 years passed, and Cain is 10 years old now. So he was on his way with his family to the royal capital to make his debut. Renee wanted Cain to go to the academy with her together. Garm said that Cain is too young, and he need to wait until he is 12 years old too. Then Cain used his search skill, and he could sense monsters fighting against humans. His father sent the knights forward to help, and Cain decided to help too. His father was concerned, but Cain immediately flew with his magic spell forward to provide support. His sister wished him good luck in the fight. Then we see knights being attacked by a large group of orcs. They were all badly injured. Suddenly Cain appeared, and he killed the orcs. Cain used strong wind magic, and he attacked many orcs. Cain was able to kill many orcs with his aircutter spell, but he realized that he would hurt with his spell the knight too. Followed, he decided to use his sword to fight against the monsters. So Cain combined his sword with fire magic, and he managed to defeat the orc general with ease. After the fight, Cain introduced himself, and the knights of his family also showed up. When a knight fell, Cain used healing magic, and he was able to heal all injured knights with a single spell. Cain told them to rest, and he gathered up the corpses of the dead knights. After that, his father also arrived, and he was surprised that Cain defeated all the monsters without any help. Garm then saw the royal family coat of arms, and 2 cute girls got out of the carriage. Cain was surprised to have saved the princess and a duke's daughter. The 2 girls thanked him, and they were both exhausted from the fight. Cain offered to cast a spell on her, so Cain used his relax spell. The 2 relaxed, and could forget the pain and their exhaustion. After that, the girls immediately fell in love with Cain. Cain was too charming, and had received Riz power from the gods. Then they learned that Cain was also going to the capital, and they dragged him in the royal carriage. Garm couldn't help his son, and the girls tried to seduce him. However, in the carriage, Tellus and Silk said that he didn't need to speak so politely with them. Cain was very nervous, and didn't know what was going on. Followed, the girls crowded him and both snuggled up to him. After that, they arrived in the next town, and the girls wanted Cain to rest with them in the same room. His father Garm tried to help Cain. He said that Cain is too young to sleep with a girl in the same room. The 2 girls said that without him they both are scared. Silk said that they need Cain, who protect them in the night against monsters. They remained stubborn, and Garm couldn't help Cain. So Cain was forced to sleep in the same room with the 2 cute girls. Then Cain slept in the middle, and the 2 girls wanted to sleep next to him. Followed the 2 girls, Silk and Tellus tried to seduce Cain all the time, and the naive Cain had no chance to escape. So Cain was forced to sleep with the 2 noble girls. Cain couldn't sleep the following nights, because he was far too nervous every night, so he was very exhausted. After a few days they arrived in the capital. The vice leader of the royal knights, Daim, appeared, and he thanked Cain for rescuing Princess Tellus and Margrave Silk. He also thanked him for collecting the bodies of their knights. Cain then told the knights Daim that the knights died with honor. Daim promised to bring the bodies to their family members and tell them about their bravery. After that, Cain had to prepare for his debut. Suddenly Daim stopped him. Cain found out he was having an audience with the king. Following, we see Cain. He was called to the king, and as he stood before the king, he bowed. The king learned of his exploits, that he defeated 50 orcs, and also a orc general. He was also commended for bringing the bodies of the Death Knights back to the kingdom. As a result, Cain received a reward, and the king made Cain to a baron. Cain was surprised to become a baron, and in addition he got 10 platinum coins, and an estate as a reward too. The nobles were furious that a little boy is becoming a baron, so one noble complained about it. The king was angry with noble Corgino. He said that it's his decision to reward the boy, and that Cain deserved it because no one but him could defeat 50 orcs alone. However, Cain was appointed to a baron, and he thanked for his rewards. We then see Cain and his father in the king's private room. The king thanked Cain extensively again. Then Silka's father Eric von Santana also thanked Cain. Cain was flattered, and said it was natural to help people in need. After that, they wanted to continue talking about Cain's future. The king was very interested in Cain, because he didn't want to lose such a talented boy to another kingdom. Suddenly the king and Eric asked if Cain would like to marry their daughters, Silk and Tellus. The 2 dads knew about the nights spent together by Cain and their daughters. So Cain was forced to marry the 2 girls, Silk and Tellus. Cain couldn't refuse, and his father couldn't help him either, so Cain decided to get engaged with their daughters. In the days that followed, Cain visited the gods, and he wanted some advice about his stats. God Zenom said that Cain is the strongest human in this world. Followed, he asked if Cain would like to become a demigod. After that, Zenom told him that they haven't a lot of entertainment in their realm. So Cain came up with the idea of making an item that provides entertainment. The gods looked forward to Cain's plan about creating a game and encouraged him. After that, Cain went shopping with his big sister. He ran out of the store. He then met Palma. She was happy to meet Cain again, and he learned that she is studying by Mr. Tamanus in his craft shop. Tamanus was surprised that Cain is an aristocrat, and Cain wanted to see his shop. After that, Cain asked if Tamanus could build him a game. Then Cain presented his idea to him, and Tamanus accepted to build his game for Cain. Cain first wanted a test product, and he was paying with a gold coin. Tamanus said that a gold coin is too much, and he didn't want to accept that much of money, but Cain said it's an investment, and he accepted to work for Cain. After that, Cain realized that he had forgotten his sister in the store, so she was angry with Cain. Followed, Cain complimented her many times to calm her down. When they were back home, Renee showed him all the clothes she had bought. Cain complimented her again, and she showed him all the clothes until the next day. In the next morning, maid Sylvia appeared, and she told him about his game. Cain liked the created Reversi game. He then wanted to try out his new game board with Palma. Cain showed Tamanus and Palma how the game works, so Tamanus was impressed with the game and Palma was enjoying to play the game. Followed then, Cain wanted to make a version for nobles and a version for all commoners. Tamanus said that they have problems with the expensive materials, so Cain supported its manufacture and gave Tamanus enough money to make the games. Tamanus looked forward to working with Cain. Then Cain learned that they can make a contract with the merchant god to patent their product for 3 years. Cain and Tamanus made a contract with the god of merchant, and Cain's invented game was sent to the gods. After the contract was drawn up, Cain asked Tamanus to produce a deluxe version of the game. He wanted to gift the game to the royal family. Tamanus was unsure about his skills, but Cain encouraged him that the game is a complete success. The gods also loved Cain's game, and they had fun with his game. Later, Cain had to make his debut, and his father told him to be careful, that he didn't get into troubles. When Cain appeared in the king's hall, he immediately recognized the evil nobleman. Then he discovered his fiancée Silk, and her father Eric. They introduced themselves again because their previous meeting was not officially announced, so they had to formally introduce themselves again, and Silk's father thanked Cain again. Silk introduced herself and thanked Cain for saving her. Cain complimented her and seduced her with his Riz aura. Silk's father wanted to learn from Garm how he managed to raise Cain to be a Riz master. Garm said that Renee is very moody, and it was his sister's influence that made him so charming. The king then appeared and initiated the celebration. Then Cain thanked him for his invitation to the party, and he showed his charm and complimented Princess Telis. The king was also shocked that Cain was being raised with Riz and worried about his daughter. Then Cain told the king about his game, and he accepted his gift. After that, Silk brought him a drink, and she tried to seduce Cain. She then teased Cain a bit, and made Cain very nervous. Suddenly the son of Marquis Corgino appeared. He had a crush on Silk, but she was only interested in Cain. Habit and his friends looked down on Cain. Cain introduced himself as the Baron, but they didn't listen. The 3 boys didn't know that Cain had a higher edge than them, and Cain provoked Habit. Habit got angry, and he wanted to fight outside. When they were all outside, Cain didn't want to put Silk in danger, but she wanted to stay with Cain. The other boys were jealous of Cain, and they wanted to show Cain their magic. However, Habit's henchmen showed off their magic. The first henchman cast a spell, and he was able to cast a small fireball. His performance was pathetic, so the second henchman wanted to show off his earth magic. He also did weird-looking poses, and he wanted to show off his super magic. He could only use weak magic too. When the 2 henchmen wanted to continue, Silk stopped the pathetic performance of them. She said that Cain isn't a Baron's son, but he is an officially appointed Baron. The boys were shocked to learn that Cain is the boy who defeated 50 orcs and became Baron. They immediately apologized to Cain and ran away. Silk thought it is funny that Cain had an evil side too. She blackmailed Cain into going on a date with Silk, otherwise she would tell Telis about his evil side. Then Princess Telis also wanted to go on a date and she was jealous. So Cain also invited Princess Telis to a date, but suddenly her father was behind Princess Telis. So the 2 girls caused huge problems for Cain again. Later, Cain showed the king his invented game and the 2 dads set rules for his date with their daughters because they were worried. In the days that followed, Cain was given the key to his new mansion. Then was told that he doesn't have to play his invented game with the king today. He thought he could go home right away. Suddenly Duke Eric appeared. He wanted to play a game with Cain. Then more nobles showed up, who wanted to play around with him too, and Cain got a fright. After that he went to his new property, and his new home had fallen into disrepair. Cain hoped that no ghosts would spook in his new home. So he went into his new mansion. He realized that he had no light and continued to look around the mansion. He then looked at the rooms and all he saw was broken and need to repair. Also, his new mansion was very dirty, so Cain decided to clean his mansion with magic. Cain cast a spell, and he was able to clean his new home in just a moment. Then he fixed everything, and he was already looking forward to his new life in his own mansion. Later on, Sylvia showed up. She was happy that Cain asked for her as a maid. Cain met all the new maids, and Butler Colin introduced himself to him. Butler Colin was looking forward to working for Cain. Then the maids wanted to clean up Cain's mansion, and they noticed that Cain had cleaned his new mansion. Sylvia already suspected that Cain would take care of it, and Colin was surprised by Cain's skills. Colin then told that he still has to visit his father, because his older brothers Alec and Jin arrived at home. Later his brothers learned that Cain is barren now. They congratulated him, and Reen was looking forward to visiting Cain's mansion. Then the brothers said that ghosts are living in the old mansion, and they teased Reen a bit. Reen was afraid of ghosts, and wanted Cain to protect her. They then went to see Cain's mansion, and they were surprised that everything looked new. Garm immediately suspected that Cain was using his magic. His mother was proud of Cain, and they looked at the rooms of his mansion together. While looking at the rooms, his father Garm remarked that he needs art objects since he is an aristocrat. Following this, Cain went to exhibit a stuffed monster. Suddenly Sylvia screamed, and all the maids thought a monster was attacking. They saw a huge red dragon and his father was shocked at Cain. He couldn't believe his son defeated such a dangerous monster. Cain said he recently defeated one in the forest a few days ago. His father then explained to him that a red dragon is a calamity-class monster that A-rank adventurers can only defeat with a large group. Then Garm said that next time he should warn the maids, to avoid problems the next time. After that, Cain learned that his stuffed red dragon is worth 1,000 platinum coins. Suddenly Sarah screamed. They liked the modern toilet of Cain, who created it with magic. They wanted one in their own home, and Garm wanted to use it. That's how his father got to know the great toilet, and he asked Cain to install one at his house. Then Cain was told that he needed to host a party to debut himself as a new aristocrat. Cain was overwhelmed with the party, but Colin and Sylvia have already prepared everything. So Cain looked at the guest list, and he didn't want to invite the rude Duke Corgino. He also noted that the king wasn't invited because only dukes are allowed to invite the royal family. Cain then came up with a plan for the party, and Sylvia encouraged him to organize the party in his own way. Then we see Cain wanting to make beautiful glasses, so he produces many glasses as gifts for the nobles, and also he told his cook a new dish for serving on his party. He intended to serve burger patties, and Sylvia was allowed to taste the delicious dish. She was overwhelmed by the delicious taste of his burger patties. Then Sylvia tasted the sparkling wine that Cain had made. She loved Cain's home brew, and she drank all the bottles at once. Sylvia was drunk, and Cain was called to the king. The king glared at Cain. He asked Cain why he didn't receive an invitation of his beloved son-in-law. The king was jealous and very sad because Eric had an invitation to his party. Cain replied that he wanted to invite him and showed him an invitation. So the king was cheered up, and he was no longer sad. In the evening, the maids found out that the king was coming too. Additionally, they learned that Cain is engaged to Silk and Princess Tellis. The following evening, the first guests came to Cain's party. Eric and Silk also showed up, and they thanked him for the invitation. Then they spotted the red dragon of Cain. Eric was amazed that he could defeat one. When all the guests had arrived, Cain greeted the noble and wished everyone a lot of fun at his party. Next we see Garm tasting his sparkling wine with Eric and Sarah. They loved the fizzy taste of the alcohol, and they praised Cain. Also, Eric was amazed that he could make the girls so happy with his dishes. Cain was flattered by the compliments. Suddenly, the royal family appeared, and the king immediately discovered Cain's sparkling wine. After that, he tried his burger patties, and he thought he was in the anime food wars, because the food overwhelmed him. Cain was able to make the royal family happy with his dish, and the queen discovered his crazy toilet. Then the king used the toilet. He loved the toilet, because he ate at KFC some hot wings before, so Cain was commanded to build a toilet for them as well. The king praised Cain, and all the other nobles were happy with his party too. Suddenly, at the end, Duke Corgino appeared. He looked down on Cain. Then he entered Cain's mansion, and he was startled by the huge red dragon. Cain told him he was stuffed, and the other guests didn't like the arrogant Duke Corgino either. Then he tasted Cain's delicious sparkling wine and said that it didn't taste good. Then he also tried his hamburger patties. He loved his dishes, but didn't want to show his real expression. Cain was angry at Duke Corgino for his rude manners, but Colin calmed Cain down. So Cain had a plan to annoy Duke Corgino. Cain gave him his beautiful glasses, and he wanted to get all his glasses. So Cain replied that it isn't possible to give them all the glasses. Suddenly, Cain located the king, and he offered Duke Corgino a valuable gift. Duke Corgino was interested in the gift, and Cain tricked him. He hid behind his future fathers-in-law, and Duke Corgino apologized for the rudeness. The king was angry with Corgino for behaving like a tyrant. So Duke Corgino was lectured by the king. Followed Duke Corgino disappeared. After that, Silk showed up and she knew that Cain had planned everything. She thought his bad boy personality was cute. Suddenly Eric and the king were listening their conversation, so Cain was caught in his lies. Cain apologized and promised not to do any more nonsense. The next day Cain was called to the king, and he was disappointed in Cain for using his position as king. Then he tried to apologize, but Cain had to laugh by thinking of yesterday. So Cain was lectured by the king for 2 hours. A few weeks later, Cain was on his way to hand in his slain monsters. Vice leader Dayam showed Cain an empty space for his hunted monsters, but Cain said the space is too small. Dayam was shocked and learned that Cain defeated giant earth dragons. So Cain was allowed to store his monsters in the courtyard. Followed Cain brought his hunted monsters out of his item box. Night Dame couldn't believe that Cain was a 10-year-old boy because he defeated a huge bunch of powerful monsters. Next, Dayam asked if Cain is an apostle of the gods. Cain replied that he is just a son of a count and he wanted to go home. Suddenly Dayam stopped him and he wanted Cain to join the knight training. Then Cain fought against all the knights and was surrounded by them. Then we see why Cain had to fight all the knights. Cain was introduced by Dayam, and the leader wasn't in that moment there. Cain learned that the leader of the knights is a battle junkie. After that the training began and a knight underestimated Cain. So Cain fought against an ordinary knight. Cain used his boost spell and he easily defeated the knight. After their fight, Cain wanted to go home, but he was forced to fight against all the knights at once. As a result, we see Cain surrounded, and the leader of the knights showed up. She thought Cain was an innocent little boy who was bullied by the knights. Meanwhile, Cain saw an elf for the first time, then he cleared up the misunderstanding. The leader Tefana was surprised that Cain is a strong warrior. She immediately wanted to fight against Cain, so Cain was challenged to a duel with Tefana. Tefana held the title of Swordmaster, and Cain was forced into a fight. She then also used the boost spell and attacked Cain. Cain managed to keep up with Tefana's speed in their fight, so they fought each other, and Cain also decided to activate the boost spell. Cain lured Tefana into a trap, and he defeated the leader of the knights. Suddenly, Tefana fell in love with Cain, and she decided to make Cain her future husband. Cain said he doesn't even know her name. In addition, he is too young for a MILF. Tefana introduced herself as the Duke's daughter of Liebert. Then she replied that their age difference isn't a problem, because elves live 300 years. Cain hid behind his friend, and he said that the king would agree. However, Cain hoped for the support of his friend, but he didn't want to get involved in his problems. Tefana understood Cain, and she decided to talk to the king. Cain feared that the king would get angry with him, so Cain was dragged to the king. Tefana then said to the king that she would like to marry Cain. The king and Cain's father were shocked at the news, so Cain explained that he defeated Tefana in battle, and she fell in love with him. Suddenly, Garmin the king told him that Tefana is from the province of Liebert. He learned that elves used to be hunted and enslaved, but one day a hero appeared. He was the first king, and his name was Yuya. The elves were saved by him, and since then, the province of Liebert has grown into a strong kingdom. Tefana has the same rank as a princess in her homeland. Then the king told about Tellus and Silk's secret engagement to Cain. Tefana was impressed that the king accepted him as son-in-law, so she decided to marry him anyway. The king couldn't help Cain, and she should ask her father for permission. After this, the king and the others were suspicious if Cain was sent from God. They decided to use a book to find out the true identity of Cain. A few days later, Cain was very exhausted. He was forced to fight Tefana every day. During the fights, Cain received the new title of Swordmaster. Suddenly Cain wanted to run away by hearing Tefana's voice, but he was stopped because the king wanted to talk with him. So we see Cain with the king again, and they gave him a book of magic to read. Then Cain looked at the book, and the king said they couldn't read the book. Cain notes that the book of the first king was written in Japanese. Cain knew he had to tell them about his secret. Cain decided to trust them, and he told everyone that he had memories from his past life. Garm was shocked, and Cain said that he is definitely Garm and Sarah's child. In addition, everyone learned that Cain can talk to all 7 gods. After that, Cain revealed his true stats, and they were shocked at his enormous power. The king then said that Cain with all of his titles can become the king, and the whole world should worship him. Cain didn't want to be the king, he likes his current life. Then Cain said that he loves his current life, because everyone is so nice to him, and the king and his father always took good care of him. The king understood Cain that he wanted to continue his usual life. Suddenly Tefana appeared. She had permission to marry Cain. So the little Cain got a MILF as his 3rd fiancée, and Eric said that Cain will always be the same. However, all had to promise to keep Cain's secret. Meanwhile, Cain fought Tefana at the courtyard. Then King continued to hope that Cain would protect their family and everyone else of the kingdom. So Cain was allowed to continue his ordinary life as an adventurer, and he could continue fighting against strong opponents. In the evening, Silk and Telis found out about his engagement to elf girl Tefana. Cain apologized to his 2 cute fiancées. They were both briefly angry, but they somehow managed to accept his destiny, and Cain was very scared. Suddenly Tefana appeared and Cain was kidnapped again by the elf girl Tefana.